Hello, and welcome to Unpreachy, a podcast of homilies from St. John Chrysostom Parish. Today, Father Brian Zumbrum reflects on Luke chapter 15, verses 1 to 3 and 11 to 32, the Gospel reading for Sunday, March 30th, 2025.
So when I was in high school, there was this one song that we sang at every one of our concerts. It was always the final piece, and it was titled Coming Home. And it's funny, it's over 25 years ago, but I can still hear the opening lines all these years later. I have traveled sea and mountain, distant pathways I have roamed, but it's time, my friend, for a journey's end. I am coming home. This was always the song that when we sang it got me teary-eyed, because I would look around at my fellow choir nerds and think, these are my people. This is where I found my home these last 4 years, where I felt I belonged, where I was seen and heard and loved. And if I'm honest with myself, I was in no rush to leave the proverbial nest, to strike out on my own. I was anxious and nervous of what would come when I set out on my own grand adventure that would take me far from my childhood home. It's probably why I've always found it a bit difficult to understand the younger son in our parable for this weekend. For I never quite had the impulse to stride into the future and torch the path behind me as I went. And yet, I totally can relate to simply having that innate desire to want to go home. For even if my reasons were different, I most certainly can relate to being on journeys that take me far from home. Home. It's such a fascinating concept to me now. Maybe because in the Oblates I moved a lot. But when I think of the term home, it is rarely buildings that come to mind or addresses that I've scribbled on envelopes for years. But when I hear home, instantly there are innumerable spaces and the people who dwelt in them that come to mind. Spaces in which I found safety and belonging. Spaces in which I was returned to myself and became a better version of me. Spaces in which I was held and cherished. Spaces in which I was healed and comforted. Spaces in which I was loved. Home surely has taken so many forms for me. A dormitory in the outskirts of Guayaquil, Ecuador. A soup kitchen in Washington, D.C., a college chapel, a high school gym, a beach house, a New York City apartment, a favorite diner, a living room, a retreat center, a kitchen island, all sacred places where I encounter God's love in the people God has blessed me with. Is this not the promise at the heart of this parable that we know so well? That each of us, too, has innumerable homes that we are invited back to each and every moment. Homes filled with people who remind us of the truth that is our birthright. That we, too, are cherished. That we, too, are chosen. That it does not matter how far we wander. It does not matter how badly we get lost. It does not matter why we set out on the journey to begin with. Whether we were filled with idealistic passion or delusions of grandeur, whether we were seeking fame or fortune, all the roads ultimately lead back home. For at the end of every journey stands the same God, with open arms, radiant in the faces of all those whose love sustains us, whose faith strengthens us, whose forgiveness heals us, whose hope inspires us. And so, my friends, may this Lenten journey simply be another journey home. Home to where our God dwells, home to where we belong, home to where we're loved, now and always. May God be praised.
Unpreachy is a production of St. John Chrysostom Parish in Wallingford, Pennsylvania. Visit us at sjcparish.org. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend. This podcast was produced by Brendan Lorden with music by Skytoes on Upbeat. Thanks for listening. Be well.